The rumble of an approaching truck shattered the peaceful silence of Wayne's garden. He glanced up from his prized rose bushes, shielding his eyes from the midday sun. What he saw made him drop his gardening shears in disbelief. A blue-skinned goddess descended from the vehicle. Her figure was accentuated by denim shorts that seemed painted on and a tight white t-shirt. Wayne blinked, wondering if he'd finally succumbed to heatstroke. Aliens were no longer a novelty, but none he'd ever seen looked like this. Their eyes met, and an undeniable electric current surged through Wayne. He stood frozen, captivated by her otherworldly beauty. He tried to look away, to regain some semblance of composure, but her gaze held him captive. The alien smiled, a radiant, welcoming expression. "Hey neighbor. I'm Saria. Just moved in." Her voice was melodic, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Wayne snapped out of his trance, realizing he was still clutching his gardening gloves. He awkwardly set them down. Hi. I'm Wayne. Welcome to the neighborhood." His heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. Saria's smile widened, revealing pearly white teeth that contrasted starkly with her azure skin. "Thanks. Mind lending a hand with my stuff? I promise I don't bite, unless you're into that sort of thing." She winked playfully. Wayne chuckled nervously, acutely aware of how flustered he must appear. "Sure, I'd be happy to help." As they began unloading boxes from the truck, Wayne found himself stealing glances at Saria. Her movements were fluid, almost hypnotic. He nearly fumbled a box when she bent over to pick up a stray item, granting him an unobstructed view of her flawlessly sculpted posterior. "Careful there, tiger," Saria teased, her voice laced with amusement. "These are delicate artifacts from my home world. Wouldn't want them getting smashed because you were too busy checking me out." Wayne felt his face burn. "I wasn't. I mean, I didn't." Saria laughed, a sound like tinkling bells. "Relax, I'm just messing with you. It's cute when you blush. Your whole face turns this adorable shade of pink." Wayne groaned inwardly. He was making a complete fool of himself. "So, where exactly are you from?" he asked, desperate to change the subject. "Oh, a little planet called Zapia." "You've probably never heard of it," Saria replied casually. "It's about 50 light-years from here. Nice place, but the commute was killer." Wayne nearly choked. "You're joking, right?" Saria raised an eyebrow. "About the commute?" "Nah, that part was true. Stasis pods are not comfortable, let me tell you." "No, I mean, 50 light-years. That's incredible." Saria shrugged. "It's not that big a deal. Lots of aliens coming to Earth these days, right? I hear you humans have been making all sorts of interesting contracts with off-worlders." Wayne's smile faltered. "Yeah, I've heard about those contracts. Not really my thing, to be honest." Saria cocked her head, studying him intently. "And why is that?" Wayne shifted uncomfortably under her gaze. "Just seems risky, you know. All that power, it can change people. Not always for the better." Saria nodded slowly. "You're not wrong. But change isn't always bad, Wayne. Sometimes, it's exactly what we need." There was a depth to her voice, a hint of something Wayne couldn't quite decipher. Before he could ponder it further, Saria clapped her hands together. "Well, that's the last of it. Thanks for your help, neighbor. I owe you one." "Don't mention it," Wayne replied, surprised to find himself disappointed that their time together was ending. "If you need anything else, just let me know." Saria's lips curved into a mischievous smile. "Careful what you offer, Wayne. I might just take you up on that." With a final wink, she sauntered into her new home, leaving Wayne standing in the driveway, his head spinning. Over the next few days, Wayne found himself concocting increasingly flimsy excuses to visit Saria. He offered to mow her lawn, she didn't have one, asked to borrow a cup of sugar, he didn't bake, and even pretended his shower was broken, it wasn't. Each encounter left him more flustered than the last. Saria seemed to delight in finding new ways to tease him, her flirtatious comments growing bolder by the day. "You know, Wayne," she purred one afternoon as he fiddled with a wrench, ostensibly fixing her kitchen sink, "if you wanted to see me so badly, you could have just asked me out." Wayne nearly banged his head on the pipes. "What? No, I mean, that's not." Saria laughed. "Oh, come on. We both know you're not really here to fix my sink, which, by the way, wasn't actually broken." Wayne emerged from under the sink, his face burning. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." Saria waved her hand dismissively. "Don't apologize. I think it's sweet, and flattering." She leaned in close, her exotic scent enveloping him. "Tell you what, why don't you come over for dinner tonight? We can drop this silly pretense and actually talk." Wayne's heart raced. Every instinct told him to say no, to run away before he got in too deep. But as he looked into Saria's mesmerizing eyes, he found himself nodding. "Great," Saria beamed. 8 o'clock, don't be late." As Wayne walked home in a daze, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into something far beyond his control. The day crawled by as Wayne anxiously awaited his dinner with Saria. He changed his outfit 3 times, settling on a casual button-down and jeans, then changed again. By the time 8 o'clock rolled around, he was a bundle of nerves. He knocked on Saria's door, a bottle of wine clutched in his sweaty palm. The door swung open, and Wayne's breath caught in his throat. Saria stood before him in a slinky black dress that left little to the imagination. Her blue skin seemed to shimmer in the soft lighting. "Right on time," she purred. "I like a punctual man." Wayne swallowed hard. "I brought wine," he managed, thrusting the bottle towards her. Saria took it, her fingers brushing against his. Even that slight contact sent shivers down Wayne's spine. "How thoughtful," she said. "Come on in. Dinner's almost ready." Wayne followed her into the house, trying and failing not to stare at the way her hips swayed as she walked. The interior was a curious mix of earth decor and alien artifacts. Strange, glowing crystals sat alongside potted plants. A painting of what looked like a double-mooned alien landscape hung next to a poster of a human rock band. "Make yourself comfortable," Saria called from the kitchen. "I'll be right out." Wayne sank into a plush armchair, his eyes roaming over the eclectic decor. A strange device on the coffee table caught his attention. It looked like a cross between a lava lamp and a futuristic computer. "Careful with that," Saria warned, emerging from the kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. "It's a quantum entanglement communicator. Very delicate, and very illegal on this planet." Wayne jerked his hand back. "Illegal? Should you be telling me that?" Saria shrugged, handing him a glass. "Probably not, but I have a feeling you can keep a secret." She winked. "Besides, what are you going to do? Report me to the alien police?" Wayne chuckled despite himself. "Fair point. So, what's for dinner?" "Nothing too exotic, I hope." "Nothing too exotic, I promise," Saria replied. "I've been experimenting with Earth cuisine. Tonight, we're having lasagna." Wayne raised an eyebrow. "You made lasagna?" "Don't look so surprised," Saria laughed. "I'll have you know I'm an excellent cook. It's all chemistry, really, and I happen to be very good at chemistry." There was a glint in her eye that made Wayne wonder if she was still talking about cooking. As they ate, Wayne found himself relaxing. The lasagna was delicious, and conversation flowed easily. Saria regaled him with tales of her home world, describing fantastical creatures and breathtaking vistas. "So, what brought you to Earth?" Wayne asked, refilling their wine glasses. Saria's expression grew serious. "Curiosity, mostly, and opportunity. Your world is at a crucial juncture, Wayne. The contracts between humans and aliens, they're changing everything." Wayne frowned. "Not always for the better, from what I've seen." "Perhaps," Saria conceded. "But that depends on the individuals involved. Great power can corrupt, yes, but it can also elevate. It all comes down to choices." There was a weight to her words that made Wayne uneasy. "Is that why you're here? To make contracts?" Saria smiled enigmatically. "Among other reasons." "Tell me, Wayne, have you ever considered it? Making a contract?" Wayne shook his head firmly. "No, never. It's too risky." "Is it?" Saria leaned forward, her eyes boring into his. "Or are you just afraid of change? Of becoming something more than what you are?" Wayne shifted uncomfortably. "I'm happy with who I am." "Are you?" Saria's voice was soft, almost hypnotic. "Don't you ever wonder what you could achieve with just a little boost? Strength beyond imagining, intelligence to rival the greatest minds in history, charisma that could charm anyone, anywhere." As she spoke, Wayne found himself leaning closer, drawn in by her words and the intoxicating scent that seemed to emanate from her skin. "It sounds tempting," he admitted, "but at what cost?" Saria's smile widened. "Everything worthwhile has a price, Wayne. The question is whether you're willing to pay it." She stood suddenly, extending her hand. "Come with me. There's something I want to show you." Against his better judgment, Wayne took her hand and followed her to a room he hadn't noticed before. The door slid open silently, revealing a space that looked nothing like the rest of the house. Glowing symbols covered the walls, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. In the center of the room stood a pedestal upon which rested a shimmering, translucent orb. "What is this place?" Wayne whispered, a tinge of fear creeping into his voice despite his trepidation. "This," Saria said, her voice resonating with power, "is where contracts are made." She turned to face him, her eyes glowing with an inner light. "You never answered my question earlier, Wayne. Have you ever thought about changing your life?" Wayne's heart pounded in his chest. He knew he should leave, should run far away from this alien temptress and her dangerous offer. But as he looked into Saria's mesmerizing eyes, he found himself unable to move. I don't know," he stammered. Saria stepped closer, her body mere inches from his. "Don't you want to find out what you're truly capable of, Wayne? Don't you want to be extraordinary?" Her scent overwhelmed him, clouding his thoughts. He began, but the words died in his throat as Saria leaned in, her lips brushing against his ear. "Say yes, Wayne," she whispered. "Say yes, and I'll show you wonders beyond your wildest dreams." In that moment, teetering on the precipice of a decision that would change his life forever, Wayne knew he was in way over his head. But as Saria's lips met his in a searing kiss, he found he no longer cared. The contract was sealed, and there was no going back. Wayne's breath came in shallow gasps as Saria's kiss deepened, her lips soft but charged with a power that left him trembling. The room seemed to hum with energy, the glowing symbols on the walls pulsating faster, synchronized with the racing beat of his heart. Every instinct in his body told him to pull away, to resist the pull of this alien force that was drawing him in, but he was no longer in control of his actions. Saria broke the kiss, her gaze piercing into his eyes, glowing with an otherworldly light. "Do you feel it, Wayne?" she whispered, her voice a sultry caress that sent shivers down his spine. "The contract is forming. Our fates are entwined now." Wayne's throat was dry, his words barely a whisper. "What does that mean?" Saria smiled, stepping closer until their bodies were nearly touching. It means you and I are becoming one, in more ways than you can imagine. To finalize the contract, we must complete the union, body, mind, and soul. He swallowed hard, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Saria's hand slid over his chest, her touch like fire through his clothes, igniting something primal deep within him. She guided him gently, leading him toward the pedestal where the glowing orb pulsed with energy. It cast strange shadows across her face, making her look even more otherworldly, a goddess from some distant realm. "You must trust me," she whispered as she began to undress, her movements graceful, deliberate. Each article of clothing fell away, revealing the luminous azure skin beneath. Her body was perfection, curves that seemed sculpted by some divine hand, and Wayne found himself unable to look away, completely entranced by her alien beauty. His pulse quickened as Saria took his hand, guiding it to her bare skin. A jolt of energy surged through him at the contact, the contract's power stirring between them, invisible threads binding them together. She began undressing him in turn, her touch gentle but firm, as though this was a ritual, something ancient and sacred. When they were both bare, the room seemed to vibrate with intensity, the symbols on the walls glowing brighter, casting the space in an ethereal light. Saria pressed her body against his, and Wayne felt the raw heat of her skin, the sensation overwhelming. She tilted her head back, her eyes closing in ecstasy as their connection deepened. "This is the moment," she breathed, her voice barely audible, "when two become one." Wayne, lost in the haze of desire and the intoxicating energy of the contract, couldn't speak. He could only feel her body, her essence merging with his. She pulled him down to the ground where they knelt together before the pulsating orb, the energy between them growing more intense with each passing second. The moment they joined, it was as though the universe itself had shifted. Every nerve in Wayne's body came alive, surging with an energy that was both foreign and familiar. The air around them shimmered with the contract's power, sealing their bond as they moved together, their bodies entwining in a rhythm that felt primal, instinctual. Saria's skin glowed with an ethereal light as she arched against him, her breath coming in shallow gasps, her lips forming his name in a whispered mantra. Wayne, consumed by the intensity of the moment, could only surrender to the overwhelming sensations. Later, as they lay entangled in each other's arms, the room still humming with residual energy, Wayne felt a profound change within himself. It was as if a switch had been flipped, unlocking potential he never knew he possessed. His mind felt sharper, his senses heightened. He could see, hear, and feel things with a clarity he'd never experienced before. "Do you understand now, Wayne?" Saria murmured, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. "The power is yours. You only need to learn how to wield it." Wayne nodded slowly, still processing the transformation. "What kind of power?" Saria smiled enigmatically. "That depends on what you desire. Strength, knowledge, influence, anything is possible." A shiver ran down Wayne's spine. The possibilities were intoxicating, but also terrifying. "What's the catch?" he asked, his voice laced with suspicion. "There's always a catch." Saria sighed, her expression turning serious. "There are responsibilities, Wayne. With great power comes great accountability." "Accountability to whom?" "To me," Saria replied, her eyes locking with his. "And to the Zapian Council." The mention of the council sent a jolt of unease through Wayne. He'd heard rumors about the council's dealings with Earth, whispers of exploitation and manipulation. "What does the council want from me?" "They see potential in you, Wayne," Saria said smoothly. "They believe you can be a valuable asset in their endeavors on Earth." "What kind of endeavors?" Saria hesitated for a moment, as if weighing her words carefully. "Let's just say they want to help Earth evolve." Wayne frowned. "Evolve how?" "In ways that benefit both humans and Zapians," Saria replied vaguely. "Think of it as a mutually beneficial partnership." Wayne wasn't convinced. He had a feeling Saria wasn't telling him the whole truth. I don't like this, he said, sitting up in bed. I don't like being kept in the dark. Saria sighed, reaching out to cup his face in her hands. I understand your concerns, Wayne. But trust me, this is for the best. The Council has the resources and the knowledge to solve many of Earth's problems. And what do they want in return? Wayne pressed. Saria hesitated again. Access to certain resources. And influence in certain areas. Resources like what? And influence over what? Saria's expression hardened slightly. That's not something you need to worry about right now, Wayne. Just focus on learning how to control your new abilities. The rest will fall into place. Wayne stood up, pacing the room restlessly. He felt trapped, manipulated. He'd thought he was making a choice, but now he realized he'd been played. I don't like this, he repeated. I want out. Saria's eyes flashed with anger. You can't just get out, Wayne. The contract is binding. You're in this whether you like it or not. Then tell me the truth, Wayne demanded. What are the Zapian Council's real plans for Earth? Saria turned away, refusing to meet his gaze. I can't tell you that. It's classified. Wayne's anger flared. Classified? Is that what you tell all your human puppets? Saria spun around, her face contorted with rage. Don't call me that. I'm trying to protect you, Wayne. The truth is more complicated than you can imagine. Then explain it to me. Wayne shouted. I deserve to know what I've gotten myself into. Before Saria could respond, a voice boomed from the doorway. Enough. Wayne and Saria turned to see a tall, imposing figure standing in the entrance. He was dressed in a dark suit, his face stern and unyielding. Councilman Thorne, Saria said, her voice tight. What are you doing here? Thorne ignored her, his gaze fixed on Wayne. So, you're the lucky human who caught Saria's eye. I must say, you don't look like much. Wayne bristled at the insult. And you are? Councilman Thorne, as Saria so politely put it, Thorne replied, his voice dripping with disdain. I'm here to ensure that you understand the terms of your arrangement. Wayne glared at Saria. You brought him here. Saria avoided his gaze. He's just here to explain things, Wayne. It's standard procedure. Thorne stepped into the room, his presence filling the space with an oppressive weight. Let's cut the pleasantries, he said, his eyes cold and calculating. You now possess abilities far beyond those of ordinary humans. The Council has granted you this power, and in return, you will serve their interests. And what if I refuse? Wayne challenged. Thorne chuckled, a harsh, humorless sound. Refusal is not an option, Mr. Wayne. The contract is binding, and the consequences for disobedience are severe. Wayne's heart sank. He was trapped, with no way out. What kind of service are we talking about? Various tasks, Thorne replied vaguely. Gathering information, influencing certain individuals, ensuring that the Council's operations run smoothly. In other words, spying and manipulating people, Wayne said bitterly. Thorne shrugged. Call it what you will. The point is, you will do as you're told, or you will suffer the consequences. He paused, his gaze hardening. And don't think you can run. We have ways of tracking you, no matter where you go. Wayne felt a surge of anger, but he knew he was powerless. He'd made a deal with the devil, and now he had to pay the price. So, what's the first task? He asked, his voice heavy with resignation. Thorne smiled, a predatory glint in his eyes. That's the spirit. Your first task is to use your newfound abilities to persuade a certain government official to approve a new mining contract. It's a win-win situation, of course. It will bring jobs to Earth, and it will provide the Council with valuable resources. Wayne stared at Thorne, a sense of dread washing over him. He knew this was just the beginning. He was now a pawn in a game far bigger and more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. He looked at Saria, pleading for some sign of remorse, but her face was unreadable. As Thorn began to outline the details of the mining contract and the official he needed to influence, Wayne couldn't shake the feeling that he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. The power he'd craved had come at a terrible price, and he had no idea how he was ever going to escape the clutches of the Zapian Council. Wayne awoke the following morning with a start, disoriented. The events of the previous night crashed over him in a dizzying wave. Saria, the contract, Thorn, the power. It was almost too much to process. He sat up in bed, noticing Saria was no longer beside him. The room, now bathed in the cold light of dawn, looked ordinary, devoid of the otherworldly energy that had pulsed through it hours before. Had it all been a dream? He hoped it was, but a glance at his hands dispelled that notion. They seemed different. Sharper, stronger, more capable. He clenched his fists, feeling the surge of unfamiliar power thrumming beneath his skin. It was real. He had made a contract, and he was irrevocably changed. As he got dressed, a wave of nausea washed over him. The thought of what he was now obligated to do, manipulate a government official into approving a mining contract, turned his stomach. He wasn't a spy or a con artist. He was just a regular guy who liked gardening and quiet evenings. How had he gotten himself into this mess? He found Saria in the kitchen, calmly preparing breakfast. She looked radiant, her blue skin glowing softly in the morning light. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she said, her voice warm and inviting. "I hope you slept well." Wayne scowled. "How can you be so cheerful after what happened last night?" Saria raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "We made a connection, Wayne. We shared something special." "You manipulated me," Wayne retorted. "You seduced me into making a contract I didn't understand." Saria sighed. "I told you the truth, Wayne. You chose to accept the power. Don't blame me for your decisions." "But you didn't tell me everything," Wayne countered. "You left out the part about manipulating government officials and exploiting Earth's resources." Saria's expression hardened. "Those are just details, Wayne. The big picture is what matters. We're helping Earth evolve. By stripping it bare." Wayne scoffed. "By turning humans into puppets of the Zapian Council." Saria slammed a spatula down on the counter. "Don't be dramatic, Wayne. We're offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. A chance to make a real difference in the universe." "I don't want to make a difference by selling out my planet," Wayne snapped. "I want out of this contract." Saria's eyes flashed with anger. "That's not possible, Wayne. You know that. The contract is binding." "There has to be a way," Wayne insisted. "A loophole, a cancellation clause, something." Saria shook her head. "There is no way out, Wayne. You're stuck with me, and with the council." A cold dread washed over Wayne. He was trapped, with no hope of escape. "What about love? Did you mean any of that?" He was surprised to hear himself ask the question, clinging to the fleeting hope that something real existed between them. Saria's face softened slightly. "I care about you, Wayne. I wouldn't have chosen you if I didn't. But do you love me?" Wayne pressed. Saria hesitated. "Love is a complicated emotion, Wayne. It's not something we Zapians experience in the same way humans do." "So, it's all a lie," Wayne said bitterly. "The flirting, the seduction, it was all just a means to an end." "It wasn't a lie," Saria insisted. "I enjoyed being with you, Wayne. I just have different priorities." Wayne turned away, unable to look at her. He felt betrayed, used. "I need some air," he muttered, heading for the door. "Where are you going?" Saria called after him. I don't know, Wayne replied. Anywhere but here. He spent the day wandering aimlessly through the city, trying to clear his head. The newfound power coursing through him made him feel restless, agitated. He could sense things others couldn't, the subtle shifts in energy, the undercurrents of emotion swirling around him. It was overwhelming. In the afternoon, while drowning his sorrows in a dimly lit bar, Wayne overheard a conversation that piqued his interest. Two men were huddled in a corner, whispering about an upcoming alien technology expo. They say the Zapians are going to be there in force, one of the men said. Showing off all their latest gadgets. Yeah, and Thorne's supposed to be giving a keynote speech, the other man replied. Something about the future of human-alien collaboration. Wayne's ears perked up at the mention of Thorne and the Zapians. He suddenly had an idea. If he wanted to learn more about the Council's plans, the expo might be the perfect place to start. That evening, he returned to Saria's house. She was waiting for him, her expression a mix of anger and concern. Where have you been all day? She demanded. I've been worried sick. I needed some time to think, Wayne replied. I'm not sure I can do this, Saria. I can't just betray my planet. You don't have a choice, Saria said firmly. You made a contract. I might have a way out, Wayne said, his voice low. I heard about an alien technology expo tomorrow. Thorne's going to be there, along with a bunch of Zapians. I think I can find out what the Council is really up to. Saria's eyes narrowed. That's a dangerous idea, Wayne. You'll be walking right into their territory. I don't care, Wayne said. I need to know the truth, even if it gets me killed. Saria hesitated, then sighed. All right, she said. I'll help you. But you have to promise me you'll be careful. The next day, Wayne and Saria arrived at the expo, a sprawling convention center buzzing with activity. Humans and aliens mingled, gawking at displays of advanced technology. Holographic projections shimmered in the air, showcasing everything from interstellar spacecraft to mind-reading devices. As they navigated the crowded aisles, Wayne felt increasingly out of place. He was a fraud, pretending to be interested in technology when all he really wanted was to uncover the Council's secrets. Suddenly, a familiar voice boomed over the loudspeakers. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, I present to you Councilman Thorne. Wayne and Saria made their way to the main stage, where Thorne stood beaming under the spotlight. Welcome, everyone, he said, his voice amplified for the entire expo to hear. Today marks a new era of collaboration between humans and our alien allies. Together, we will build a future of prosperity and peace. As Thorne launched into his speech, Saria nudged Wayne. Look, she whispered, pointing to a group of Zapians standing near the stage. That's Jax. He's one of the Council's top enforcers. Wayne followed her gaze. Jax was a hulking figure with a stern face and piercing eyes. He looked like someone you wouldn't want to cross. He's also someone who knows a lot about the Council's plans, Saria said. If we can get him alone, we might be able to get some answers. Wayne nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it. Time to put his plan into action. After Thorne's speech, Wayne and Saria followed Jax as he made his way through the crowd. They finally caught up to him in a secluded hallway. Jax, Saria said, her voice commanding. I need to talk to you. Jax turned, his eyes narrowing as he recognized her. Saria, he said, his voice gruff. What do you want? I have some concerns about the Council's operations on Earth, Saria said. I think we need to have a private conversation. Jax hesitated, then nodded. All right, he said. But make it quick. Saria led Jax into an empty conference room, Wayne following close behind. Once they were inside, Saria closed the door and turned to face Jax. I know what the Council is really planning, she said, her voice hard. You're not here to help Earth. You're here to exploit it. Jax's eyes widened in surprise. What are you talking about? He stammered. I know about the mining contract, Saria pressed. I know you're going to strip Earth bare of its resources, leaving it a barren wasteland. Jax's face contorted with anger. You're a traitor, Saria, he snarled. You've betrayed the Council. I'm not a traitor, Saria retorted. I'm trying to protect Earth. Protect it from what? Jax scoffed. From progress? From a chance to join the galactic community? From being enslaved, Wayne interjected, stepping forward. The Council doesn't care about Earth. They only care about power. Jax turned his attention to Wayne, his eyes filled with contempt. And who is this? He sneered. Some human pet. I'm someone who's not afraid to stand up to you, Wayne replied, his voice firm. Jax laughed, a harsh, grating sound. You're a fool, he said. You can't stop us. The Council is too powerful. Maybe not, Wayne said, a glint in his eye. But we can try. Jax lunged at Wayne, his fist raised to strike. But before he could land a blow, Saria stepped in front of Wayne, deflecting the attack. Get out of here, Wayne, she shouted. I'll handle him. Wayne hesitated, then nodded. He knew he couldn't take on Jax in a fight. His best bet was to escape and warn others about the Council's plans. As he turned to flee, he heard a sickening thud behind him. He glanced back to see Saria lying on the floor, unconscious. Jax stood over her, a look of triumph on his face. You're next, Jax snarled, advancing towards Wayne. Wayne knew he was in deep trouble. He was outmatched, outgunned, and alone. But he wasn't about to give up without a fight. He clenched his fists, preparing to face whatever came next. Wayne didn't know how long he lay there, bruised and disoriented, after Jax had knocked him unconscious. When he finally came to, the Alien Technology Expo was a distant memory, replaced by the cold, hard reality of his situation. He was alone, Saria was likely in custody, and he was now a wanted man, marked as a traitor by the Zapian Council. He stumbled to his feet, his head throbbing, and made his way out of the conference center, trying to blend in with the departing crowds. He knew he couldn't go home. Saria's house would be the first place the Zapians would look for him. He needed a plan, and he needed it fast. As he walked, he remembered something Saria had said about resistance groups on Earth, humans who were fighting against the alien contracts and the Council's influence. He didn't know how to find them, but he knew he had to try. He ducked into a dingy internet cafe, the kind that still smelled of stale cigarettes and cheap coffee. He sat down at a computer and began to search for information about these resistance groups, carefully avoiding any keywords that might trigger Zapian surveillance. After hours of digging, he finally found something, a cryptic message board with a series of coded posts. He spent another hour deciphering the code, his heart pounding with each breakthrough. Finally, he found an address, a meeting place for one of the resistance cells. It was a long shot, but it was all he had. He made his way to the address, a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of the city. He approached cautiously, scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. The warehouse looked deserted, but he could hear faint sounds coming from inside. He took a deep breath and knocked on the heavy metal door. A small peephole opened, and a pair of suspicious eyes peered out at him. "Who are you?" a gruff voice demanded. "My name is Wayne," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "I need help. I know about the Zapian Council, and what they're planning for Earth." The peephole slammed shut, and he heard the sound of bolts being thrown. The door creaked open, revealing a burly man with a hardened expression. "Prove it," the man said, his hand resting on a weapon holstered at his hip. Wayne hesitated, unsure of what to say. I made a contract with Saria," he stammered. "I know about the mining contract, and how Thorn is involved. The man's eyes narrowed. Saria? You mean the Zapian? What's your connection to her? It's complicated, Wayne said. But I'm not on their side anymore. I want to help you stop them. The man studied him intently for a moment, then nodded slowly. All right, he said. Come in. But one wrong move, and you're dead. Wayne stepped inside the warehouse, his senses on high alert. The interior was dimly lit, filled with crates and boxes. A group of people were huddled around a table, studying maps and diagrams. They all looked up as he entered, their faces wary. This is Wayne, the burly man said, addressing the group. He claims to have information about the Zapian Council. He turned to Wayne. Tell them what you know. Wayne took a deep breath and began to recount his story, from his first encounter with Saria to his discovery of the Council's true intentions. As he spoke, he could feel the skepticism in the room slowly fading, replaced by a grudging respect. When he finished, a woman with short, cropped hair stepped forward. My name is Agent Miles, she said, extending her hand. I work for Human Intelligence. We've been tracking the Zapian Council for years, but we haven't been able to gather enough evidence to take them down. Wayne shook her hand, feeling a glimmer of hope. I can help you, he said. I know their plans, and I know how they operate. We need to be careful, Agent Miles said. The Zapians are watching us. They have spies everywhere. I know, Wayne said. That's why we need to be smart. We need to find a way to sabotage their operation without getting caught. Over the next few days, Wayne and Agent Miles worked together, poring over intelligence reports and devising a plan. They learned that the Zapian Council was planning to use the mining contract to extract a rare mineral from Earth, a mineral that could be used to power their advanced technology. If we can stop them from getting that mineral, Agent Miles said, we can cripple their operation on Earth. But how? Wayne asked. They have advanced technology, and they're always watching us. We have a few tricks up our sleeves too, Agent Miles said with a smile. We've been developing a device that can disrupt their communication network. If we can deploy it at the right time, we can blind them, giving us a chance to strike. The plan was risky, but it was their only hope. Wayne and Agent Miles assembled a team of trusted operatives and began to prepare for their mission. They knew they were walking into a hornet's nest, but they were determined to fight for their planet. Finally, the day arrived. Wayne and Agent Miles, along with their team, infiltrated the mining site, a sprawling complex hidden deep in the mountains. They moved stealthily through the shadows, avoiding the Zapian security patrols. As they approached the main control center, they encountered a group of Zapian guards. A fierce firefight erupted, the air filled with the sound of laser blasts and explosions. Wayne fought with a ferocity he never knew he possessed, his newfound abilities giving him an edge over the Zapians. One by one, the Zapian guards fell, until only Jax remained. He stood before Wayne, his eyes filled with hatred. You can't win, Jax snarled. The council will crush you. Maybe, Wayne said, but we're going to make it as difficult as possible. Jax lunged at Wayne, his fists flying. Wayne dodged the attacks, his reflexes honed by his Zapian enhancements. He landed a series of blows on Jax, staggering him. As Jax reeled, Wayne grabbed the device Agent Miles had given him and activated it. A pulse of energy surged through the control center, disrupting the Zapian communication network. Jax screamed in frustration, clutching his head. What have you done? He roared. I've just leveled the playing field, Wayne said. With the Zapian communication network down, Wayne and Agent Miles launched their final assault. They stormed the control center, disabling the mining equipment and securing the site. As the dust settled, Wayne stood over Jax, who was lying on the ground, defeated. It's over, Jax, Wayne said. The Council's plans for Earth are finished. Jax glared up at him, his face contorted with rage. You may have won this battle, he snarled, but the war is far from over. Wayne knew Jax was right. The Zapian Council was still out there, and they wouldn't give up easily. But for now, he had won a victory for Earth. He had stood up to the oppressors and shown them that humans were not to be trifled with. As he looked around at the faces of his fellow resistance fighters, he felt a sense of pride and determination. They had a long road ahead of them, but they were ready to fight for their planet, for their freedom. The war had just begun. Wayne recovered to the reality around him after several hours of sleep. He woke up in a sweat, his memories of what had transpired with Saria and Thorn flooding back to him. He was trapped between his feeling for Saria and the fact he was manipulated by Zapian Council. He made a decision he would confront with all of this and finish this for all. He found Saria in her lab, working on her experiment. "Saria, we have to end this once and for all. I know your intention and I won't allow you and the Council to exploit Earth for your advantage," said Wayne to Saria with rage on his eyes. Saria did not get surprised with Wayne. She said, "I knew one day or other this had to come, but this will be very destructive for both of us, Wayne." "There no Saria, that was one-sided. I felt something for you, but you took advantage of my feeling and give me this cursed power for your advantage," Wayne responded with a very sad voice. Suddenly Saria activated the portal, and the portal was active but it was very unstable. "You have to make a decision, join me to bring Earth to Zapia or die," asked Saria to Wayne with a very angry look. Wayne replied without any fear, "I will destroy this portal. It is an abomination and I will rather die than to watch Earth in your hand." Wayne runs towards the portal. Suddenly the Zapian High Commander arrived at the lab with Saria. "Wayne, my boy, I have been waiting for you. I was expecting that this would happen. Saria is just the bait. You will never control Earth, Earth will always be free," responded Wayne to the Zapian High Commander. "I felt something in you, there's something very unique, but I guess, I will be the one to take that from you," said the Zapian High Commander, and the Zapian High Commander transfer his mind control and the mind control enter into Wayne's body. As the mind control was entering to the Wayne's body, Wayne remember his memory with his family and friends, and he remember all of the good things about the Earth. As the mind control completely taken over Wayne, the eyes of Wayne was completely white and he looked like a mindless person. "Now my boy, I want you to destroy that portal," said the High Commander. "I will not," said Wayne with his strong voice. The High Commander was surprised that he was not able to control Wayne. "I should have known better, your human mind is very strong and you have that cursed love for Earth," said the High Commander. Wayne was running towards the High Commander and he grabbed the Zapian High Commander neck. "I will not allow to take over Earth and destroy all of the things that I love and care. I know you are not Saria. Saria won't do this." High Commander and Wayne was falling down to the portal. "Wayne, I am sorry that I manipulate you, now you have to end this," said Saria to Wayne. "There are two options. I am letting High Commander die to the portal and Earth will be saved, but I have to die too, and the second option, I will save myself and kill the High Commander but Earth will be damaged because the portal is still open. I will choose the first option and say goodbye Saria. I love you with all of my heart and I know you also love Earth," said Wayne. Wayne pushed the High Commander to portal and Wayne also fall down to the portal. There was a huge explosion and the portal disappeared and the lab was damaged all over. Agent Miles and the resistance fighter arrived to the lab but it was too late. They found Saria who was badly hurt. "Where is Wayne?" asked Agent Miles. "He sacrificed himself to save Earth," said Saria with tears in her eyes. "We have to ensure that other Zapians won't take over Earth," said Agent Miles. "I know how we will close all of the contract. I will help you, Agent Miles. I will help Earth." In the end, Earth was free and all of the evil Zapians was banned from Earth. Saria also banished from Earth because that was the rule, but Agent Miles and the resistance fighter helped Saria to hide herself in Earth. "I know you love Wayne and it's very hard for you, but we have to move on. Do you have any plan?" asked Agent Miles to Saria. "Yes, I will make sure no alien will ever exploit Earth, but that has to take time. I am now a changed woman and I want to honor Wayne and I will make sure that Earth will be saved at all cost even if that has to cost me my life," replied Saria. Years pass by and Earth was living with peace and harmony, and all because of Wayne's sacrifice.